There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything.
That power that can make a way out of nowhere.
Today, in the world, there's so much suffering because of that one of prayer.
Welcome, everybody, live from New Jersey. This is the Prayer Revolution. My name is Doyal, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host Vira, who's tuning in all the way from Florida. We're both in the backwoods now. I'm out in the backwoods of New Jersey in my wife's parents' home, and I'm super grateful and glad to be with you guys. This is our daily prayer podcast. We do this every morning from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We say a little morning prayer, and then we discuss what it means to bring that mood of prayer into our daily life to help us find a continuous state of connection that rather than letting my mind lead the way, I can invite a higher power into my life to help guide my relationships, my decisions, my moods, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're just reminding ourselves every day. Glad to be with you, Vera. How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah. Feeling feeling that internal kind of tension, just of the tensions in the world right now, a lot with racial injustice and violence and people really wanting to hear stronger voices and to see, people come together around it and in a way which actually leads to change. And so I'm feeling that today and feeling that tension. I know that there's a big part of the environment of the world that I know I don't control. I don't control other people's actions, and also I want to do everything that I can to hear those voices, hear the voices of the suffering, hear the voices of oppressed, and because I'm so fortunate in my life, and I've been gifted, so many liberties that I don't want to take that for granted. That there are so many people that don't experience that in the world, and to have that empathy, have that compassion, and to just search my own heart, how I can make a difference. And so that's on my heart today and on my mind. And yeah, and I know it starts with prayer. I know that's where it starts. I know that's the seed. And watering the roots of the tree of our life starts with our connection with a higher power. It starts with our connection to ourselves spiritually, beyond the body, beyond the mind. And then from there to be able to come into our purpose, come into a place of compassion and empathy, and actually searching our hearts and souls, how we can make a difference, starting with our own life, how we can make a difference in others' lives. So that's what's on my mind and on my heart. I'm sure for a lot of you guys that is going through your hearts and minds too.
Thank you. Love to hear more about that. You mentioned nice intention in your heart. I'd love to hear more from you on that.
Yeah, I'd love to pray and ask for that guidance. Ask for the guidance, how to make a difference in my own life, and to enough, to feel actually willing to extend in compassion. I want to do that. I want my heart to feel. I want it to feel the pains and the challenges that other people go through, and in whatever way that I'm meant to in this life, to be an instrument of helping to alleviate that and helping to alleviate the suffering of people in this world. So
yeah,
I know I'm just a little guy, and I have if God wants to work through me in some way to make a difference in people's lives, then maybe so.
Beautiful.
Yes. So let's take a pause. Let's take a pause in our day. Wherever we are at, whatever we're doing, let's stop doing it. And let's connect to ourselves. Let's connect beyond the mind. So much that's being measured and weighed in the mind. So many the goods, the bads, and the uglies of life that are constantly moving and circulating through our mind. Accepting those things which are pleasurable, rejecting those things which are painful or challenging. And let us find a connection with ourselves beyond those fluctuations of the mind. the pure, powerful nature, the eternal nature of our spirit and our higher power. We're all parts of something so much greater than ourselves. Connecting to your breath, connecting to the mood right now of receiving, connecting to your intention. What is it that you are looking to receive in your life so that you can give from that full place in your heart and your soul? What is it that you're seeking to receive? What is it that you're looking to give back without any conditions? My dear Lord, I pray to you today, please give me the courage. Please give me the courage and please give me the clarity to be able to see where I'm avoiding the work that you want me to do in this world. And please help me to see where it is that you want me to go. And help me to move toward that with all clear signals. Let me see those green lights that are guiding me into the direction you want us to go in. You want me to go in my life. And help us all to see that. Help us to see those signals, those signs that this is where you want us to move, that this is how we can make a difference in the world, that this is how we can be instruments of your unconditional love, of your grace, not just in our lives, in our immediate circle, but to every person who we come into contact with, every stranger, even if they're from 1,000 miles away and we've never met them before, that we may feel in our hearts compassion, may feel in our hearts a desire to want to make a difference, to dedicate our life to that. I ask you to give us the courage when we see those signs. Give us the clarity to see those signs. And when we see them, give us the courage to follow through. In those areas where you don't want us to go, those areas that lead us to complacency, those areas in life that lead us to just being apathetic and not really seeing the opportunities that you're putting in front of us. Help us to avoid those. Help us to move away from those, to not be stuck in complacency in our life. Help us to see clearly those signals and give us the courage to follow through with them. Each of us in our own capacity. Each one of us you have invested with different abilities, with different unique gifts. Help us to use those in compassion, in service to you, in service to every person on this planet that you put us into contact with. Let us experience your grace. Let us experience your love by being vessels of your love in the lives of every person that we come into contact with. I pray to see that which I'm avoiding, and have the courage to follow through. Please give us that courage, my Lord, that we can fully express our compassion and the love that's sitting dormantly in our hearts. Not judging anybody, not seeing that somebody should receive it or somebody shouldn't, but in our own capacity, just to be instruments of that. Individual ways, make a difference in this world, make a difference in our lives by being instruments of your grace. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come together. Thank you for helping us to prioritize coming together each morning and praying together, praying to be better in our lives, praying to be grateful in our lives, and praying to be instruments of your grace, of your love. We need it. The world needs it so much more today than it ever has. And we call out your holy names each morning. Please infuse us with that courage that today we may make a little bit more of a difference in the world through our actions, through our compassion. We may follow the path that you've laid out for us in this life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hmm.
Thank you so much, Vera.
Hmm. Thank you, Doyle. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it very much.
Mm-hmm.
I see people on the Zoom chat board, they come out of the prayer, it's like coming out of a cocoon, rubbing their eyes and waking up and take them into deep state. So thank you so much. People on the chat board responding, Satya, David Shields, all these beautiful souls out there resonating. You mentioned that feeling this morning, you just woke up with the tension in your heart, and I wanted to just maybe just see if you wanted to just share more about that and what that feeling is like and how you're managing that tension and what that tension is looking like for you.
Let's. I mean, I'm just exploring it. It's a feeling inside of my heart, and I know, that when people feel unheard, then the voice gets louder. People feel taken advantage of, and that don't feel like they have a voice, and the voice gets louder, and so feeling that tension of wanting to hear that voice, and actually, that there is compassion that's extended for it. I mean, I'm just thinking about community members right now that are really really having a lot of difficulty with the racial injustice and the violence taking place in the world, and wanting to hear those voices, wanting to have the space for us to be able to come to a place in our heart where we feel resolve, we feel clarity, and we feel heard, we feel understood, and that we're then ready to step forward in whatever way that looks like. Individually, we're ready to step forward in some action of compassion, some action that actually leads to a positive change, to another person feeling heard, to another person feeling understood, to another person feeling that they're safe, that there's shelter in the world. And so, that's just kind of like my plea, or my own conviction, and my own my own way that I feel like that I can help in an immediate way, is that those individuals that are feeling that I want to hear your voice, and that you matter to me for sure. And anyone in our community that feels that they don't matter, feels like they don't have a voice, or feels in some way that we're not, as an organization or as a community, that we're not responding compassionately, or in integrity, actually, with that compassion, with God's grace, with God's love, then I want to see how we can do that. I want to recognize that, and so that's immediately what I'm thinking about, and that's what I'm feeling, and that is a tension that is, I think, to some degree, will always be there in the world. A tension of that divine and that deceitful, untruth, demonic nature that exists within the heart of every human being. And that tension is there, and that tension can be extremely gross and one-sided, where we see the acts of violence and injustice and inequality. We see that in the world, and that that bad dog inside is being fed and being fed and being fed somehow or other, and people are lashing out, and people are coming from that darkest, most painful region in their hearts, knowingly or unknowingly, and causing so much suffering in the world. And that exists within all of us, exists within my heart for sure, and maybe not in as extreme ways. And at the same time, there's a lower nature and a higher nature within my heart, within my conscience. And what am I feeding? And so I feel that tension. I want to feed the good dog, and I want to be able to respond back, whoever it is, friends, community members, the strangers that I meet in this world, I want to be able to respond back no matter what's happening with compassion, with love. And that takes an immense amount of spiritual groundedness and faith in a higher power. And so that is my hope, that I can be that in my own life. I can be that for myself. I can recognize that. I can feed the good dog, and just to see really, we were talking about it yesterday. A man or woman's best thinking, brought them to the most heinous acts we've seen in the world. Somehow or other, that bad dog somehow or other has taken the reins and is running the show. And so I'm talking on it just a little bit like that, and also just searching my heart, right? It's a feeling inside. It's a feeling of wanting to be in integrity, and wanting for my mind to support that integrity, for my actions to support that integrity. And so then it's a search, and I think it's a search for all of us. It's a constant search for every person that's on a spiritual path. Is, how can I, what are the lies that I'm telling myself, or what are the ways that I am, maybe I'm thinking about myself more than is actually helpful or healthy for my own development, my own growth. And how can I extend, and it's a constant balance, right? How can I be nourished in myself and have that supportive mindset and lifestyle, and at the same time, how can I extend the principle of Vira Doyal and the Bhakti tradition? How can I extend and have compassion for people who are struggling and suffering in the world? And so I think a question that we constantly are asking ourselves, and an inner work that we're being asked to do in the subtle ways and the gross ways, to feed the good dog and to hear the bad dog, but to heal that part of ourselves that somehow or other, leads to that selfishness, and then leads ultimately, if it keeps getting fed, leads to, just like really the behavior that's like the antithesis of the heart, antithesis of the soul. Mm-hmm.
Where's that bad dog come from? Like, why is the bad dog even there?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about feeding that good dog, feeding that bad dog, and it's the antithesis of the soul. Like,
yeah, well,
did we adopt him at some point? Is he a brother or sister of the good dog, or where did it come from?
It's the biggest question probably out of all spiritual traditions, that where is original sin? Where is that original darkness? Where is that, if we're pure spirit souls, according to Bhakti and so many other spiritual traditions, where does that original sin, where does it come from? And, Srila Prabhupada, there's different perspectives on it, and I'm not going to go into that because there's differing perspectives on it. And Srila Prabhupada really encouraged his disciples, a great Bhakti teacher, that, when a building is on fire, when your house is on fire, do you inspect the origin of how it got on fire? When there's a blazing fire and your house is burning down, do you inspect the origin? Where did the fire come from? How did this happen? Who started it? Do we go into that, or do we work to get out of that fire? Do we work to get out of that burning house? And so he encourages disciples, that to be able to recognize that right now we're in a diseased condition of consciousness, and the origin of that first bacteria that caused that virus, that caused that cancer. No, you're in a diseased condition right now. Like there is a remedial measure. There's a plan of medicine and healing that you can take to, that you can cure that disease. You can put that fire out. And so Srila Prabhupada really encouraged that, and that resonates with me because, we can look at, there are differing opinions, even from the teachers and the Bhakti tradition, there are differing opinions on that. And I'm okay. I don't feel like I need to get in an argument about that or go, look at that. I know that I'm diseased, and I know that I believe there's a cure because I've been taking the medicine and experiencing myself becoming less selfish and becoming more, caring for others, or wanting to live my life in service, and experiencing an inner fulfillment and happiness that I wasn't experiencing earlier in my life. And so I believe in the medicine. I believe in the process, applying myself intentionally to it, giving my full self to it, and experiencing the results of it. And so, yeah, that it comes, it's there. Right? There is that divine and demonic nature. Demonic sometimes is like a strong term, but there's that light and darkness, right? There is that duality in this material world. It's just it's the nature of it. Night and day, inhale, exhale, birth, death. We see it in the seasons. We see it constantly. And so it's there. It exists. And, what are we doing? What's the measure, and what's the treatment plan that we're taking to actually, shine the light on it, bring that light in and actually work to heal that part of ourself, so that we are, in gross and subtle ways, that we're acting from a place of love and compassion. We're not acting from a place of selfishness or ultimately violence. And so those are my thoughts. I know I didn't answer your question, but.
Well, I was just wondering if you can explain the meaning of life in the last 3 minutes that we have on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel ready to explain the meaning of life according to what I believe.
I think everything you're saying is really beautiful. It's kind of like in the words of our good friend Samuel Johnson, people need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed. And I think that some of these answers, they're not static. It's things that we hear it every day, and we apply it to our life in a different way based off who I am today and what my circumstances are today. So it's kind of like a continuous enriching of information that we need to continuously reapply to our lives on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you were saying about yourself, maybe we can end with this, or just a little take home, is you're saying taking that medicine, and I'm just wondering if what are some simple ways that we can take in some of that medicine for ourselves. You've mentioned chanting, but there could be other things also, things that we do throughout our day to kind of bring us back into that space.
I'm gonna throw it back, not at you, Doyle, but I'll throw it back at all y'all out there. What do you do? What's that medicine that you take? What is that way of living? What are those practices? What's that mindset? Go ahead and put it in the chat board. Go ahead and type it up. Come on, get your fingers moving, guys.
Light it up on the chat board.
Yeah. What do? You know more than anybody. And for those of us that are not out there, absolutely, we can share some things. If somebody hasn't found, what that spiritual medicine is that awakens that higher self, or that is able to acknowledge the lower self, but not give into it. And what is that helps you to do that? Tune. All right, Vivi, she's tuning into the right frequency. Japa, meditation, devoting everything I do to God, listening, being with Sangha, being with other spiritually like-minded people. Tune into Prayer Revolution. Yeah, absolutely.
What is tune?
Presence in the now. She was saying tune into Prayer Revolution.
Tune.
Chris is putting it on there. Gratitude, sound, breathing, yoga, skateboarding, most importantly, sharing a message of love I found from my Lord. Beautiful. That dude, appreciate it. Satya, presence in the now, awareness, becoming aware, right? Please, let's first become aware. There's nothing out. Where are we going without awareness? Yoga like Mike, just serve, be in that mood of service. Beautiful. Arjuna, practicing gratitude, association, be in action, sound and service. Beautiful, guys. Megan, walk in the woods to reconnect. I love it. Come on, let's keep it going. Indira, try to catch myself each time my ego goes crazy and listening to as many podcasts as I can. Krishna has described what sort of person is dear to him. Try to remember those qualities. Beautiful, beautiful. Read the Shastras, read the teachings. Wisdom of the sages. Amazing, guys. Amazing. Yeah. We go for it, DG.
I just love Bryn put drink water. I usually forget that. Drink
Drink.
water, pause before speaking, chanting, meditating, moving, breathing. You know, they have that phrase HALT. You ever heard that one? Acronym
Mhm.
HALT, HALT.
Yeah, I don't remember what it stands for.
If you ever find yourself hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, you need to
Yes.
stop and fix those things. You know, if you're
Mhm.
hungry, go eat something. If you're angry, calm down and like wait. If you're lonely, like don't act out of loneliness. Like find it. And then if you're tired, get some rest, because you're usually not going to make good decisions when you are experiencing those things. So halt. So if like before I'm like, what do I do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? It's like, wait a second. Check those boxes, and then from there maybe make a decision. So drink water. I appreciate that, because usually I forget that one.
Absolutely. And we're inspired, each of us individually, when we're connecting spiritually, when we're feeding ourselves. You know, oftentimes like we haven't actually fed ourselves spiritually. And so where we're acting from and what we're trying to feed, it's not connected to the deepest part of ourselves. But when we find that, what that is, what all these beautiful things you guys are sharing, we can connect to God in any one of these. And from there, what is our purpose in this world? What is our purpose in this world? We all have different purposes. We all have different ways that through that unique purpose, we're going to make a difference in the world. We're going to do that. Some people are going to be on the front line. Some people are going to be, nurses and doctors. Some people are going to just take care of, taking care of people's properties, land, mowing the yard, whatever it is. There's unlimited ways. The grocery store workers. We all have different areas in life. We're artists. Zoe's on here right now. There's different ways. And now if I'm nourishing my soul and I'm connecting to my higher power, then that becomes a medium. It becomes a medium where somebody else can feel connection to their soul. They can feel connection to their higher power through that work, even if it's the simplest thing. I'm a barista and I'm making somebody a cup of coffee and I'm giving it to them and I'm in that consciousness of service. I'm feeling that connection to myself and a higher power. I'm going to make a profound difference in somebody's life. That one action, And so what is that for each of us? And that's the tension that I'm talking about today that I'm feeling in my heart. What is that? I want to know that. And I want to know that there is in this one physical human body, I want to understand how can I make a difference? And I know the greatest difference I'm going to make is not the physical action. It's the consciousness that I'm bringing into it. And if I'm bringing that consciousness of compassion, I'm bringing the consciousness of love, of wanting to make a difference, of wanting to help somebody be able to connect to that part of themselves, that their self spiritually and their higher power, that we start to see, okay, transformation is taking place. It's going to help that person to feed that good dog. That's going to help that person not to act out in the subtle ways and in the gross, violent ways that we see in the world. And that's my pact in my life, and that I pray that every person that I come into contact with, every time we get together in the mornings, that a little bit more of a difference is made in our lives. And for each of us individually, what is that? What is that calling? That I'm going to go into it. I'm going to be able to go into it with that consciousness, and to be able to share that and help to uplift others in some way, whether it's a small, tiny action or it's a revolution, each of us to recognize that's our responsibility 100%. And then, yes, God is going to put people in our lives. God is going to put situations in our lives that are provoking. God's going to put different experiences, and how we respond to those experiences, those situations, it's transformational. There's the opportunity for it to be transformational, for us to experience greater level of connection with a higher power, greater level of grace and empowerment, and for the person that we respond to feel it in some way too. And it's needed now more than ever. It's always been needed. There's no question about it that it's needed now. And I pray to be able to respond like that. And I pray for all of us today, that today we have that empowerment, we have that courage, we have that clarity, and we experience the fulfillment from responding in that way, humbly, in the small, baby, beautiful little ways, or if we're called, there's some greater calling that brings us to touch the lives of many people in this world. It's my prayer for all of us.
It's a beautiful prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Vira, and thank you all so much for lighting up the chat boards on Instagram and as well as on Zoom. It's so beautiful to hear from all you guys. Thanks for getting everyone involved here. Really grateful, really appreciative. Thank you for all of your love. Thank you for bringing your love every morning, Vira. We're so glad that all you guys are tuning in every day. If you want to catch these again and review or refresh, we have them all recorded on our podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. And if you're listening on one of our recorded platforms and you want to get in on our live Zoom group, we have a live Zoom group. You can email us at prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org or log on to bhakticenter.org/online, and you can find our Zoom link there, as well as all of our other podcasts and offerings that we have going on at the Bhakti Center. We would love, love, love to have you guys tuning in, being part of what we got going on. Even today, just today, in 28 minutes, our good friend Mogaji is starting a pranayam series. Somebody mentioned their breathing. So if you want to learn how to breathe, meditative breathing, we got a pranayam series with Mogaji. We've got all kinds of other good, great offerings. Yoga Nidra training next week with Yogi Charu. So we're trying to keep you guys connected, trying to keep you guys in the game. And more than anything, we just want to keep in touch. So reach out to us. Let us know how you're doing. Any comments, questions, suggestions you have for us, we'd love to hear them. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Hari, super grateful for each of you guys. Thank you for being inspirations in my life and for being lights, shining, beaming rays of spiritual sunlight in this world. Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.